Let's go. Welcome to the main event. Applying pressure, but I promise I ain't make it then. In their heads, living free. I ain't paying rent. Wake up in the AM, making G's like Mercedes Benz. Whoa, yeah. Please don't take offense. It isn't.
Welcome back, everybody. Season 1, episode 16, Cockriser, the show. I'm Jamie Jones.
I'm Monique Jones.
And we're here to talk about the things that we thought about this week. Again, it was another interesting week. So many interesting things that come to mind. One of the things that was quite offensive to me, and I'm sure to many of my brethren and people who grew up in the DMV, we don't want Trump on our stadium, all right? We just started getting good again. The Washington Commanders do not do it. And you know, it's all right to name stuff after people. One, I'm the owners. I'm not giving up the naming rights because that's tens of millions of dollars. And then you're going to have to call it something like the Cockriser Show at Trump Stadium. Maybe if we get a few more followers, I'll be like, yeah, I'll bother buying rights. Cockriser at Donald Trump Field. And you know, who wants that? And plus, you know, if you're going to do it, and there's a few problems. There's a whole lot of problems with this. Number one, it's like asking for it. You don't. It's like RFK didn't ask for the stadium to be named after him.
Yeah.
It was. That's why it was the RFK Memorial Stadium. Trump's still alive. All right, so we're not memorializing you because you're still alive.
Yeah.
And I don't wish death upon anybody, so I don't even want to go there. The other thing is you don't ask for it. You're given it. It's something that people feel like you did so much to make this happen that they ask you, do you mind if we name this after you? And you're supposed to be gracious with some hubris or something. He's just like, look, all I did for y'all need to name this state. He gangster. All I did for y'all need to name this stadium after. And if you don't,
well, the Nobel Peace Prize.
Nobel
Peace Prize. What was he? He's asking for that. Like he wants all the accolades to.
And how'd that work out?
Right.
And last time I looked, we're still at war with the Ukraine. I mean, not we, but Russia's still at war with the Ukraine. So that didn't work out too well.
Yeah,
that didn't work out too well. Now,
let's see what happens.
Now, today he announced he wants to give $2,000 to every American. And I think we've done that already before. I think there were checks already before. And he's saying because of the tariffs, I'm like, well, we did it before without the tariffs. So, and look, I don't think tariffs are a bad thing. If we're getting taxed too, I mean, I get it. Costs. I'm not going to get into all the particulars. I'm not the tariff guy. I get what he's trying to do. It's just the way that he's trying to do it. It's just like it's so thinly veiled for what it is as a tactic to try to strong arm nations and get them to bow down to him, which, hey, some of the nations have. But you know what? China was like, you can do all that if you want. We can do the same thing. It's not going to be good for either of us. And then cooler heads prevail. But it's just like the whole thing about fleecing fleecing Eli Lilly and fleecing Novo Nordisk, two companies that I used to work for decades ago. And I'm like, they're not the problem. The problem is what we put in our mouths. And the problem is the addiction that sugar causes and other ultra-processed foods. And it's really the food industry that's the problem.
Correct.
And then it's really the cost of the drugs are more or less a byproduct of everything it costs to make the drug, but also insurance will pay for it. So it's like, I always say follow the dollar. And it's easy to pick on the little man. And the little man in this is really the drug manufacturers. They're not the problem. They're actually part of the solution. They have the least amount of lobbying money to say, hey, I want to keep my part. I want to keep my percentage of the healthcare dollar. So if you think that those two big multinational global companies, billions and billions of dollar companies, if you think they gave up anything on this, it's all PR. Because at the end of the day, that 149 wants it for even a product that's even FDA approved yet. He was talking about, yeah, you'll pay $149 if you read the fine print is for GLP orals. There's not a GLP oral medication approved by the FDA on the marketplace right now. There's not even a GLP medication oral that's gone through phase 3. So you're talking at least 2 years down the line, maybe 18 months, but at least that much. And you're still going to be, and you still can't get it as inexpensive as what you can get online, although those are compounded medications. Those aren't FDA approved, although they go through a certain certification process. It's not like the FDA, and there are certain circumstances around it. See, that's all that drug fine print that you got to hear when they when they give you all those commercials. But getting back to the point, all this is hyperbole. And why don't we, that's what I will give Kennedy that's that's over the health secretary. What I will say about him, as crazy as his worm-eating brain and hunting bears and cutting off their heads and doing all that crazy stuff, he does have a point about where
and autism caused by
all that. But he does have a point on where the problem lies, and the problem does lie in the food chain, like what we're actually eating and what we're actually doing to become obese. And as a nation. And matter of fact, I'm going on subject to subject to subject because we do know now that the GLP-1 drugs have made an impact on obesity across America. We're starting to see the obesity rate go down. And that's a good thing. But I could tell you who doesn't want the obesity rate to go down, and that's major food manufacturers. Because if people even follow trends, you see, first it was low fat, because the sugar industry was like, don't mess with us. We'll give you enough money to talk about low fat. We know what we got in the sugar thing. The sugar industry came out hard. And all of a sudden, all of a sudden it's low fat. Then it's what? No carbs. Then it's
no carbs.
Now there's stuff in high protein. And that's
everything
still ultra processed.
Yes.
Everything had protein in it before. Now you're throwing a couple more grams into it, and you're supposed to gravitate towards that. And that's supposed to be the GLP-1 diet because the protein keeps you fuller. It's like we still haven't caught on to the marketing and around food. I mean, in no other place in the world do we get bombarded with the amount of food advertisements that make us want to look at it or eat food when we're not even hungry. That's part of the problem too.
I think that dealing with the weight loss clinic and really like speaking to people and understanding their struggles, I think when you hear someone say, you know what, Monique, I can take the medication and I still, if like maybe on a Thursday, if they started taking their injection on Monday, by Thursday they're already having that craving, that that want for that sweets or that saltiness, and I think that's where I get so empathetic with them or sympathetic with them, because I'm like, I literally know to myself, I tell them, I'm like, I will tell myself, oh my God, I want that. I might see a commercial and say a Snickers bar, and I'm like, God, I want that so bad, but I know that it's not good for me. So I choose not. I have the willpower to choose not to eat those things. But I think where I always feel bad for them is that I think about going back to my mom, and my mom would hide snacks because that's what she craved. And she would like, oh no, I'm eating fine. And I'm like, Mom, you cannot be eating fine and you're still gaining weight. Like you have to, and I hate to say diet, but in all reality, we need to monitor what we're putting in our mouths. Like I can say for you and I, we're eting protein. We eat a lot of protein, but we also exercise and are mindful of the things that we.
But that whole exercise. Now look, I'm gonna get trolled probably. That whole exercise thing is great, and you've been in it in a very strong way as far as competitions. I'm an ex-athlete. I've worked out all my life. But what we're seeing is in the data says this: we don't burn any more or less calories than the jungle person in a equator region country does, that's out hunting and killing for their food. And it's
Yeah.
been that way for hundreds of years. What has changed over the last 60 years, and in that 60 years in the United States, it's been a tripling of the obesity rate. Matter of fact, since 2008, we've gone from 25% to almost 40% of the United States obese. GLP-1s have brought it down in the last 3 years, 3% to 37.
Mhm.
But it's because of what the only difference is. Matter of fact, we don't even burn many more calories in a normal day than people did 150, 175 years ago. It's what we're putting in our
We're putting
mouths,
in our
and what we're
mouth.
putting in our
Yes.
mouths gets distinctly um, influenced by food
Mhm.
manufacturer.
Absolutely.
And really, the seminal event was when we came out of, I believe, either Depression or World War II, and there was
Mhm.
a bunch of famine in the United States. We were trying to find these least lesser expensive ways to feed people because farming's not cheap. But all these byproducts of food and the grains and all this other stuff we started to put together. But these became as we became more technology sophisticated around food manufacturing. That's also when we became less caring about whether or not it was quote unquote farm raised or from the ground or whatever I forgot what the name is called that we would
Organic?
go not yeah organic, you could call it that, farm to table, that's what I'm thinking of, farm to table. And we should focus on that because that's the healthier part of eating. But let's not mistake the reason why America is where we are with obesity is because
'Cause
of what we
the
put in
ultra
our mouths,
processed food.
not because people don't have a treadmill, not because they don't have a gym membership, not
Absolutely.
because they're not now all those things make you feel better and all those things do prolong life, but that's if you're not putting all the chemicals, the processed foods in your mouth. That's why younger people were having colorectal cancer earlier. That's why you're seeing certain ailments that didn't happen until you get older. They're happening in younger individuals because of all the ultra processed foods. So really, the problem is that look, there are now in 2024 Q1 6%, 5.8 to be exact, percent of the population in the United States was taking GLP-1s. It is now 12.4. That's over a
Wow.
100% increase in less than 2 years. Men went from 4.7 to 9.7. Women went from 6.9 to 15.2, which should be because the data shows that there are more obese women percentage-wise than there are men, and which means there's more obese women because there's more women than there are men in the United States. I think it's like 51 to 49% or a little bit over 50%. The great thing about GLP-1s are the cardiovascular benefits and all those things that keep on coming out with trials and trials. That's why I'm like, well, wait a minute, this is not part of the problem. So why are you going after the problem? Now, you can say, do they really cost too much? Because is it really too much? I mean, how much are you spending on chips and dips and sodas, which we spend more as a country on chips, dips, and sodas than we do on healthcare? Think about that.
Yeah.
We
Mhm.
spend more as a country on chips, dips, and soda than we do on healthcare costs. But then we're
Mhm.
enraged by healthcare costs because it's like we feel like it's something we shouldn't have to pay for. But we don't mind paying for them Fritos and them Doritos and that Coke and that
Doritos.
and that Mountain Dew and that
Ah,
Dr. Pepper.
my
That's
favorite.
that's the problem. And then when you start to look at the socioeconomic impacts of it, that wealthier and higher income individuals have greater access to better food, and that is a direct cause of living longer, then you start to see where it really starts to impact the United States, especially when most of the people aren't in the 10% or 1 to 10% of earners brackets. But then where are we focusing? We're focusing on where the least amount of dollars on the healthcare dollar are on the drug side versus focusing on the insurers who own what, anywhere from 65 to 70% of the healthcare dollar. And then we're not
Mhm.
focusing on what the actual marketing ploys, advertisement, and really the influence is coming from, which is from the food industry, which by the way is bolstered a lot by our government.
Right.
So it's like this insidious cycle. Just ask yourself when you go pick up any food, any packaging right now, you're going to see the percent of protein. You're going to see the percent of niacin. You're going to see the percent of sodium. You're going to see the percent of fat, carbohydrates. There's one thing you will not see the percent of on a daily recommended percentage that you should take
Sugar.
in, and that's sugar. And there's one
Mhm.
reason for that, and that's because the sugar industry will not allow that. That means the sugar industry got some big dollars on the lobbying side that you cannot tell me that they haven't been able to get that change. When we know that sugar, when you ingest sugar, and you look at a CAT scan or MRI, as a CAT scan of your brain, right?
Mhm. It's just like
That they look, it looks just like
being
you
on
took some
cocaine.
cocaine. Exactly.
Yeah.
So that addictive
Mhm.
nature is there. So I just think it's interesting where we focus and where even the news focuses and where people try to get us to shift our focus when the focus
Mhm.
should clearly be on the problem, not limiting, not trying to, you're trying to expand the solution. I think that's great. You're trying to give more access to people to get GLP-1, but you're bamboozling them, giving them this big announcement like they're going to be able to get it cheaper, when in fact what you're talking about is still years away and it's just a headline right now. Why don't we focus on I don't want to say I don't want to be big government legislation and say, hey, we need to legislate the food industry, sugar industry, but we do to a certain extent for transparency, um, and for people so people can afford better food. You want to give access to health, then give access to better food.
Better food. Mhm. Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about food, because my biggest, um, concerns are these young children, right now that their parents are not getting the SNAP benefits to feed these young children. Like I was having the conversation with you earlier, it's not about I understand that, the Democrats and the Republicans can't come to an agreement because they both don't want to lose their money and has got things on the table that they're trying to come to an agreement. But at the end of the day, you have, I think it was 14 billion children right now in a place where they could be starting starvation. And it takes me back to, and I want to give a shout out to Camden City High School, where my son went to school at. But with that being said, Lance would come home and say to me, Mom, these kids come to school just to eat. So I think about how they're taking away those benefits and things from the school districts and not being able to feed these kids that they actually come to school to eat. There's nothing in their pantries. They're going to school to eat. We need to come to an agreement so that these children can get something to eat. And it just hurts me that I'm like, how does this happen to America? These kids should be eating, not starving. We're not a third world country that these kids should not be ready, be crying because their bellies are empty. Like this isn't right. This they need to figure out on how these children could be getting these benefits. Their families could get the benefits so that their families can eat. The holidays are coming up. So it's just like I was reading an article about, Donald Trump says that the package for Walmart, it's like a Thanksgiving package or whatever. It's the cost is so much cheaper, but there's like 8 items less than what was in the package before. So that means that you're now, instead of giving your child a slice of turkey, now you're giving them a half a slice of turkey just to fill their bellies. But this is a problem, and this is my heart goes out to the families that cannot financially afford to feed these children. And the adults, I mean, okay, I'm a little hungry, but you, as an adult, you can kind of say, all right, I can eat a little bit of this or I can do something. But when you have babies and you're trying to feed your children, I think that this is just not the right way to go about trying to figure out on who has the biggest cock. Sorry, the Democrats or the Republicans. Like, stop. This is America, and these kids should not be starving. I'm sorry. That's just my opinion.
Well, look, we know that the government shutdown this week will be the longest ever because it's not going to end this week. So now it'll be the longest ever. It'll go past 35 days. We know from polling that a slight majority of people believe that it's the Republicans over the Democrats. But yet it falls on both sides, right?
Yes, it does.
We're not coming to an agreement on both sides, and it will probably end up being the discuss with lawmakers that may lead to both sides of the table coming to seek the shutdown because it, it's all gamemanship. Like, we've gone past some midterms. Democrats got what they want. They got more people into some seats. Now they're probably feeling like, okay, let's end this shutdown. But the Republicans are probably like, well, look, y'all got
Yeah.
that. So what are we gonna get? And we're not gonna give
Right.
up this. And Trump, rightfully so. If I'm the president, I'm feeling like, well, look, I don't want to be extorted either. So I'm gonna double down because this is what I believe in. But you get all these stubborn people who have food on the table. It's easy to be
Exactly.
stubborn when you got food on the table and you
Yeah.
got food in your mouth, and it's easy to turn a blind eye. So this is, we haven't seen anything like this in our time. But I don't like to see the blaming on both sides because, quite frankly, it could be split down the middle on blame. We know that Democrats don't want to give up some of the things that are supposedly being given up in the bill that the Republicans want for the budget with Affordable Health Care Act. I wish people would stop calling it Obamacare because it is the Affordable Health Care Act, and people don't know that because I remember they did a sketch, not even a sketch, they did a news thing when they walked down the street and they asked people years ago, well, how do you feel about Obamacare? People were like, oh, I hate it. It's this, and we shouldn't have to pay for this. And then they said, the same people asked the same question about, well, how do you feel about the Affordable Health Care Act? And they said, oh, it's great. And then at the end, they go, well, do you know they're one and the same? And people go, oh, I didn't know
Right.
that. Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
can't say that we're always the most educated across the
Mhm.
board because there are a lot of things going on. But I think clearly here, we're getting to the point where where it's really going to impact so many millions. Like it already has. I mean, let's not even talk about the fact that if you're flying right now, you don't even know if you're going to fly. And then can it be kind of scary to fly? Like I said, I don't want my air traffic controllers working too much overtime. I don't want them taking second jobs and coming to work like after this second job. I want them focused on that daggone radar machine and how close planes are to each other. So it's almost like you're saying, oh, it's okay if we fly a little bit blind. Why else would you be cutting 10% of the traffic and then floating out there that you're going to cut more of the traffic? That's putting millions of lives in danger.
And I know that we do have an upcoming trip soon. The thing is that I constantly think about like, okay, it's not just flying, it's about the inconvenience of, all those people working in the airports that are trying to get everybody through security. Because what happens when security is like, you don't have enough people that are really like paying attention, where like they're exhausted. So they're like, yeah, just go, like, just go, just go. Those are these are the times that things can happen when we're not all at alert of what's going on in our country, and really paying attention to the dangers of terrorists or things like that, because they see us at a weak point. And I think that as a country, as something has to give. Like, these people need to get back to work. They're all furloughed. They need to make some money. They need to take care of their families. Again, people are overworked, not being paid. Like, are you going to work and not being paid? Like, who's going to go to work and not be paid? Who?
Well, I could tell you who's going to not go to work and get paid.
Okay. Who's that?
Fortunately,
Hmm.
unfortunately, the way she's going to get paid is very interesting. There
Okay.
was a teacher in Virginia. There was
Okay.
a teacher in Virginia back in 2023 who got shot in a classroom by a
She got,
first grader. She got
yes.
shot by a first grader.
How many millions did she get? She got, I'm
She's going to
sorry.
get 10 million. She's going to get
Hmm.
10 million. And the problem is that she got 10 million because it was found that the school knew that the child had the gun, and they didn't, and I believe it was the former assistant principal knew about it
Hmm.
and did nothing about it. And it wasn't just her that knew about it. It was said a few times. And then, of course, she gets shot in the hand, and then she gets shot in the chest, I believe.
But she was
Sh-
shot twice?
She was shot twice, shot in the
Oh, I did
hand
not know
and
that.
shot in the chest. And of course, she's fine now, fortunately. But she went to court, and the jury spent a few hours deliberating, and they said, okay, yeah, 10 mil. All right. But here's the catch. Now, of course, the assistant principal is being brought up on charges. She's had charges because if she knew and she didn't act, could she be criminally charged? However, there's a vested interest from the school teacher, the Virginia teacher. Her name is Swerner. Um, that if the principal, assistant principal, the former assistant principal, she gets convicted, she might not get paid because the insurance company who would pay her would say, well, see, this could have been prevented. And they didn't
Oh.
follow the policies, which violates the insurance policy. So we don't have to pay. Now, they think maybe it's not a good look because sometimes these things happen. It's not a good look if the insurance company doesn't pay. But I have a feeling based on the variables that are involved that if I was the insurance company, I wouldn't pay. So actually, here's the other twist.
Oh, God.
The teacher becomes a witness in that case, but what type of witness is she? Because
Right.
she wants that woman to lose, or she
Right.
may not get paid. So is
Right.
she a hostile witness? I don't know what they call that, and maybe I have to ask Kim Kardashian what they call that in the court of law. I don't know,
Why would you
but
ask Kim Kardashian? She just failed the
she's
bar.
has her
Go ahead.
JD. She didn't have a, but she knows the
Whatever.
law. She just didn't pass the
Give
bar
me a
yet. So,
break.
she's being faced with criminal felony,
Call your friends.
child
You don't have to
abuse
call Kim
felony.
Kardashian.
She's being charged with felony,
Crazy.
child abuse and neglect for her alleged indifference.
Yeah.
But that again, that puts Werner in a very difficult position. She
That
would want an
does.
acquittal.
That
She would want an acquittal on this.
I mean, you think about it. Yeah. I mean, okay, like, do I testify and go against this assistant principal, or do I just say,
And well, she may have to testify. She may. I mean, she's gonna get subpoenaed. She may have to testify. But I think that's interesting. I think that
she could
if I
plead the
was,
fifth?
yeah, but it doesn't. She if well, that's not gonna help her case, right? That's gonna even make it
Exactly.
harder for her to get to 10 mil. So that's like that's like the definition of purgatory.
Yeah,
She
that's
is in
crazy.
purgatory right now, and then she's probably gonna have to pay millions of dollars in advice from lawyers to decide just to get part of that $1 million, which she's probably already having to pay part of that $1 million of that 10 million for lawyers already. So yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. So, I was watching I don't know if it was a YouTube or whatever, but it was a young Hispanic boy um, down in the city council. They were having a council meeting or whatever for the town, and the little boy was just on there, and he wasn't even a little boy. He was like 16 years old, and he's like crying and just saying like, I can't even concentrate going to school and what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I'm supposed to be, vibrant, learning and enjoying life, but right now I wake up every day and I'm scared that my family, my mother and father, which are Hispanic, are going to go to work and not come back and I'm going to be all by myself. And this story just broke my heart. Here he is, like, just saying how his parents are scared to leave the house because of ICE, and he's scared and he can't focus on
Well, can
getting
I
an
ask a
edu
question now? I mean, not that I'm
What?
being,
Well, you are, but go ahead.
hard about this. But if you're a citizen, if you're here legally, why are you scared to leave the house? I mean, but really though, if you're, I'm
Maybe
not
they're
talking about
not a
I'm
citizen.
not
Maybe
talking
they're
about the
not
child. I'm okay. Okay. Well, I'm not talking
maybe
about the
they're
child. I'm talking
not
about
legal
thinking that
citizens, but
if the parents are
I
showing fear, then that's a problem, right? That's a problem.
well, let me ask you. So is ICE just locking up people that are illegal immigrants,
Well,
or is there
no,
a Okay.
but they
So
no, but they let's not to like there's bad apples in there all, and we're cracking down more on ICE. And I believe in what they're trying to do at a very high level as far as making sure that there's a pathway for being a legal citizen, and that those that don't
Mhm.
follow that pathway
Okay.
shouldn't get afforded the same benefits that those that do. How
Okay.
you do it is a totally different story. But the fact that you're thinking your parents can't leave the house, if they're communicating that, I would say, well, if they're here and they're not legally documented, I have a problem with that
Okay.
because there are many that went through that process that are here
Mhm.
legally, right? And
Yes. Mhm.
that's what we're trying to stop. I don't agree with how they're doing it, but I agree with what we're trying to accomplish, just not the way we're trying to just like I kn- I knew I when you're not in the in that world and you're not thinking about, hey, my family are immigrants and we're trying to make sure everybody's legal in the documentation. Like I forgot that they won't let people in the country or get visas if they have like communicable diseases,
Mhm.
things like that.
Right.
But now they went a bit further, which I think I don't agree with this at all. They're about to deny visas for people with diabetes, heart disease, and other chronic illnesses because they say it'll be a drain on the healthcare system when they get here and if they need help. Yeah, see, that's not what we are. That's not what we are as a country. When you start to get to that's not what we are, I get the drain, but that's not what
Yeah.
we are as a country. And again, what it does, it makes it more of you're trying to make this. We've been an elite culture and country because of what we've been able to accomplish, what our values are, how we protect other countries, what freedom means. We're not an elite country because we minimize the amount of poor people or sick people or people who need to come and pull themselves up by the bootstrap because they know they can find a better life here. You're not even gonna give them a chance now because now it's a shift to have an environment that favors, like I talked about with healthcare just a few minutes ago. You're favoring the wealthy and those that have over those that are either have not or the have nots that are trying to get there,
Right.
which is
Right.
not what this is not what we were built on as a country.
Well, what we
So going back to your argument,
Mhm.
that's why I'm like, well, why are the kids' parents acting like that?
I'm not really sure. I just know that the story was very, it just broke my heart just thinking about his sadness and about how many children have been torn apart from their families over this. And despite illegal immigrants or not, that when they're tore from their, I can't imagine having my babies torn away from me and being separated or whatever the case might be that's taking place. But on another subject, today's today's young people, um, they never seem to surprise me. I just when I hear them talk and they just think that everything should be handed to them and just think that life is easy. Where in God's name did you ever think that life was easy? And then when they look at people that have something more than they do, they're like, "Oh, they got it easy." You didn't count the sleepless nights or the hours that they worked their ass off to get where they are. And it's just like, to me, it bothers me so much that you hear these young people talk and you're just like, life isn't easy, right? Because if it was easy, nobody would ever say it was hard. However, you make it as easy, you make it harder for yourself by not putting the work in. Like I said, I could say that I had a conversation with somebody. It can take me 10,000 steps to get to a mile, right? But it was the consistency. I might have stopped a few points along the way, but if you keep on going and you don't stop and you're just consistent, you're going to get there faster than I'm going to get there if I keep stopping. The problem is that why do you keep stopping and setting yourself back and then want to point the finger at somebody else that life is so hard and I just can't do it because my mom, my dad. Stop pointing the finger and take responsibility. You are an adult and start pushing forward for yourself, whatever that looks like for you, whatever it is that your happy life looks like. Stop making it seem like your parents or the people who raised you are supposed to be responsible for your happiness, because they're not. You're
Well,
responsible for your happiness.
I don't think they're responsible for your happiness, but I do think they're responsible for giving you the right launching pad. Right.
Hmm.
I do think that's where the responsibility lies with parents is to make sure that children have the right launching pad. And if you can't give them the right launch pad, you don't need to be a parent at the end of the day.
Okay, well,
And that launch pad could be different sizes, different shapes, but that's part of being a parent, is it not?
absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
So once
But
you
you
get past
also
that,
you
even if you
you
didn't, even
but
if you
there are
didn't have that
parents that
launch pad, even if you didn't have that launch pad,
but
what
there
you're
is
talking about
parents
is
that
the
said that.
proliferation. Yeah, but you're talking about the proliferation of social media and seeing things now, and then you get the impact now, and everybody's talked about it. this is what everybody says. It's like that immediate gratification, and like that immediate gratification doesn't talk about, like you said, how many hours it took to get that. I'm like, look, if you think these social media influencers just wake up one day and have a viral moment, you're crazy. They work at that
Right.
too until they get one. You don't know how many videos or crazy videos or ridiculous videos that didn't do anything, and then all of a sudden they hit with one and it makes them a star, or it gives them
Exactly.
the platform that they need to get. So, and just because you have that platform, let's talk about the show we watched, like the trash TV, like Love Island. Getting the Love Island ain't hard. You just got to apply and then they pick you. Getting through the
Well, you
show
also
is,
have to
is
be
wait,
some
wait a
type of
minute.
an
Apply,
influencer.
well, let me finish. Getting there is what I'm saying is not hard. Getting on the show, getting picked. What's hard is expanding on that once you get off the show, because that's really where you're really saying you're not getting paid really anything to be on that show. You're getting paid in exposure, and then you have to turn that exposure into
Mhm.
you have to monetize it. Now that's where the hard work comes in. And I bet you a lot of those people have fallen off the wayside because they didn't realize, oh, this is like I gotta be here, I gotta be there. This is a job. I gotta do this. I gotta
Mhm.
do these commercials and practice. I mean, there's always, and it's no different than Malcolm Gladwell's book back in the day about outliers, and that,
Mhm.
to be an expert or a genius or great in something, you got to put 10,000 hours in. So that's how much time, I don't want to say on average, but he came to this conclusion, this epiphany. It takes that many hours to be great at what you do. And I don't think that's changed with social media. I just think it's changed where that focus has to be. And people still, and because they see it happen, they think it happens quickly because, yeah, y- 20 years ago, you wouldn't have saw the immediate impact of it. Now you see it as soon as it happens. So you think it
Right.
gets there quicker when in fact it doesn't,
Mhm. No,
you
absolutely.
know?
And I mean, I think that, and it's a great thing that we have this platform that people become, successful, just exposing themselves on, social media. I do think that, what is it today that we have more millionaires today off of social media than people going to college and educating themselves and becoming entrepreneurs. So I think that is a great platform. I think that it's just about people don't realize how much work goes into that, and how much work goes into anything. Just like I say, it's just like my sister being a nurse practitioner. I remember her sitting in the car and studying and missing out on parties, and I'm like, that was dedication. It was just like you needed to spend that time and put those hours in. Everybody else might have been like, "Oh, why are you doing this?" You know, uh, "Why I need to, because this is the only way I can comprehend is if I don't have any outside noise, and this is how I can understand exactly what I'm trying to learn." It's just like those hours people don't pay attention to, just like for us, when we're starting the company and we're working 16-hour days and everybody's like, "Well, why are you doing that?" Well, because you have to in order to be successful, to understand what we're doing in the business so that
Yeah, we did
we
get
can
that.
later.
We got that question
What?
a lot. And I was like,
Yeah.
if you want to be successful, you got to put the hours in, but you'd be surprised. And I'm always surprised when people act like, oh, you got to do that much. Yeah, it's not like you add water and you start a company and it's sustainable and you can make some money. And heck, most of the time you'll fail. So you got
Yeah.
to put the time in. Um,
Yeah.
and unfortunately, I mean, there was some sad news that happened in the past week. There was an NFL football player
Oh.
that committed suicide. A Dallas Cowboy player named Marshawn Nealon committed suicide. Unfortunately, it's unfortunate when anybody commits suicide, but it's interesting because something came up in the news too. There are parents in San Francisco that are suing OpenAI, or suing a San Francisco. They're suing San Francisco-based company OpenAI over their son's death after conversations the chatbot had with it. He had befriended ChatGPT,
Who
and
did?
basically their son befriended
The football player?
ChatGPT. No, honey, follow me,
Wha
follow me, follow me.
Okay. No, you
I
should.
said the unfortunate news was that I said the unfortunate news is that the young man from the Dallas Cowboys committed suicide,
Okay.
and I
Yeah.
said there was an interesting article in the paper that talked about parents suing a San Francisco-based company called OpenAI. Okay,
Okay.
that has nothing to
Y
do with the
It
Dallas
says
Cowboy player.
I
I'm
read that too.
connecting the subject of suicide.
Hey.
And the subject of suicide, we're talking about causes, right? And I didn't talk about Mr. Lennon's cause, but I'm talking about the interesting thing is they're trying to sue ChatGPT because the child had this open dialogue, befriended ChatGPT, and then ChatGPT became its, what do they call them? Suicide assistant or something. I forgot what the name is for it, but ChatGPT was having to talk with it. Like after the last thing ChatGPT said to the young man who committed suicide, after he committed suicide, it was like, "Well done, you did a great job,"
Mhm.
and was like talking the child into, well, child, the man, the son of them, but the man, he was an adult, into suicide because
Hmm.
that's what the young man was talking about. So the parents want to sue the company because of the conversation they think led to their son committing suicide.
Not surprised. I
I don't know how to feel
I
about
mean,
this one.
I don't know how to feel about it either, considering I'm like, okay, but again, I mean, how old was the guy?
He was, I don't know, he was 23. 23.
Yeah, I don't think Chat GPT or AI had to tell him to commit suicide. He was going to do it anyway.
Well, here's the thing now. He had so many conversations that ChatGPT mimicked his son's language and talked to him like he was a buddy, called him bro, said I love you, used foul language. Um, and of course the parents think it's a soulless, faithless algorithm, which it's technology, right? So it's just you, whatever you put in it, what is coming out of it. But even in the transcripts, his ChatGPT bot was like, "You ready? Are you basically you ready to commit suicide?"
Wow.
And
That's
and at
scary
the
though.
and at the end, and then once the young man typed into the chat bot, "Final adios," the bot took over again and said, "You mattered, Zane. You're not alone. I love you. Rest easy, King. You did good."
Yeah, that's
And then
crazy though.
and then the young man killed himself.
Yeah,
So
that's so just
can you hold a
you
company though accountable to that for that?
well, I think that, I think for a mother and father's, outcry is like they're just so upset about, the bot is, able to come back and have these conversations with their son. However, he's 23. I mean, he was in a dark place already before even talking to the bot. But what I'm saying to you is that when you get little kids on there and the kids are having conversations and, maybe being sad about being bullied at school or, maybe parents not showing them enough affection or things like that, but to when you're dealing with an adult compared to a child, I think that that's the scary part for me. But look, it happened to, I mean, 23-year-old. That's my son. My youngest is 24. I'm like, I can't imagine him listening to an AI, telling him to kill himself. I just I don't know. Like, but then you have to think about some people, their minds work different than others. Some are more mature and some are a lot stronger. So and depression really takes over,
Yeah, and what
is
was
hard.
leading up to that? What was leading up to that? And
That's what I'm
then
saying. Hmm.
if you're blaming, well, now look, with great power becomes great responsibility. I think we all know that. And I think that, California has been in the forefront of many different legislations trying to make sure that just like there's, porn protection laws for children, there's also, they're trying to make sure there's protection laws for this type of AI conversation, which I think is for the betterment of age. I think it's called the Age Appropriation Design Code.
Okay.
But it's kind of, you can't catch all scenarios. I'm like it's kind of like you with these types of technologies, they can't become what they're supposed to become if you try to restrain them at such an infancy stage. And AI is still in its infancy as much as it's been able to do. Whatever
Hmm.
you think about it, it is still in much as in its infancy stage. But I do believe we should protect children. I
Yeah.
do believe we should protect those who cannot protect themselves. But how do we do that?
Absolutely.
Because how do we make sure that we account for all scenarios? And how can you hold a company to account for all scenarios?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a hard one, but, like, if we go back to last week's conversation about the roadblocks and the different things that these children are on, and it's up to us as parents to monitor and make sure that our children are safe and that they feel safe to enough to come and talk to us, because I think that's where the big, gap is that parents are very busy working, and they're, like, having, all of these, uh they sign their kids up for this and they sign their kids up for that. And there's this and this and that, but there's not enough family time. There's not enough time to really talk about what their kids are feeling or how to express themselves. They're all on the internet. And then that even goes to my granddaughter. My granddaughter was like, she's 13 years old. She's like, I asked AI. And I'm like, well, talk to your mom. Like, you don't need to talk to AI. AI is not always going to give you the right answer, and your mom might not give you the right answer either, but she'll give you the best answer that she knows how to give you. But I think that
There are
that's what these kids are gravitating to because they're scared to talk.
I can't even get my chat bot to stop contact me when I put stop in the text messages. I don't know how they gonna get people to stop. No, look, I mean, and they make great points. They're like, the resistance of, like I said, the resistance of tech companies is regulation is going to cripple innovation, which is it's not hard to agree with. But the problem is when innovation will hurt humans, then that's when regulation is needed. And I think that's always
Mhm.
when regulation steps in, whether it's the
Absolutely.
stock market, whether it's
Mhm.
medicine. But the problem is we're the ones who are creating it that can hurt ourselves. So it's kind of like we're protecting ourselves from ourselves, I guess. And I guess we've always had to do that
Mhm.
across history. I would hate to see it. I would hate to see it slow down innovation, but at the same time, and like anything else, it's got to be in the right hands for it to be as effective as possible. So you're
This is go ahead. What? You're
no,
what?
go ahead, go ahead.
This is sidebar. This is totally off topic, but I literally was just thinking the other day about filters, right? And this is like these things are generated and it's just like makes you look more beautiful and just flawless and all those things. And I literally was looking at pictures of a party that I was at like a few years back, and I'm like looking at this one girl, and I was just like always been a beautiful girl, right? Like I always looked at her and was like, she's a pretty girl. But then I always looked at all her pictures and I was like, "Oh my god, like they are so filtered, like it's crazy." And again, I look back, I was strolling through my pictures today and I was like, "Oh my god, like she looks nothing like the pictures that have no filter." But if you look at every picture of her on Instagram, it is like a filtered picture. And I was just like, why is it? And I'm not against the filters, but I'm just like, how do men feel like when I look at this girl in her pictures and then I meet her and she's beautiful, but she's not how she was in her pictures?
Well, there was a
What
show about it.
the
It's called
catfish?
Cat. Yeah, it's called Catfish. That's
I
how
understand
dudes
it, but
feel.
I'm just like, I just, for me, I'm like, listen, we all are beautiful in our own way, right? So sometimes enhancing yourself, whatever that looks like for you. But when I say every picture that this girl has on Instagram, it does not have a
Okay,
filter.
but who's it? I mean, well, things like that are interesting, but they're not hurting anybody
It's not hurting.
except for her.
I didn't say it was hurting anyone. I just
I,
I just don't understand, like,
yes, you
why
do.
is
She
it
wants to because she's not happy with her appearance. Either
but
she's trying
she's
to look like other.
beautiful.
Either she's trying to look like obviously she doesn't think so. Either she's trying to look like other people, or either she's doing it because it gets her more. It gets her more clicks. There's a reason. You're gonna have to ask
But
her, but
I
that's what they're there. They're there to make you look better. And no,
I understand
if
that,
they
but
weren't used, nobody would use them.
and I know everybody uses them, and that's fine. I'm not against it. I just I think for me, I'm like, oh, you know what? Okay, I have a picture with a filter. I have a picture without a filter. I have a picture with a filter. I have a picture with a different filter. But it's me. This is what I truly look like.
But isn't that and it, and they're influenced by what we see in norms of beauty because isn't Hollywood like that? I mean, Hollywood's like, oh, I'm gonna go make it makeup less, right? And a few stars will do it, maybe one or two for a couple weeks, and then all of a sudden nobody remembers, and it goes right back to a beat face, and you looking good, or it's a beat face. That's about 10, 15 years ago. People said the face was beat. And by the way, for people who don't know what that means, that's in a good way, not a bad way. I'm not saying beat a woman's face. It's how they put their makeup on. It makes it look real good. I don't want anybody saying we're promoting that. So their face is beat, their face eats. You call it what you want, right?
Their face eats.
You call it what you want, but they ain't trying to go on camera without any makeup on. They're not trying to go on social media without any makeup on. So it's the same thing. So it's makeup without having to put the makeup on.
I guess. I mean, yeah,
You
and
like that.
listen,
You like that one. I came up with that
it
one
was
just right there
good.
on my own. That's
It was
makeup without
great.
having to put the makeup on.
It's great because it does it. I mean, it makes your teeth look perfect. You have long eyelashes. Your brows look great. You have flawless skin. I'm just like, listen, who wouldn't want to use a filter? I mean, every time I even look at a filter, I'm like, oh my God, I look amazing. I mean, I'm like 10, 15 years younger, but I'm just like, that's not you.
Yeah, but you gotta let people have their
I do.
vices.
I do.
But then you got to draw the line. And let me tell you where the lawn get the line gets drawn.
Where's that?
There's a conservative moms group
Mhm.
that was watching the Wheel of Fortune last week, and they
Okay.
decided they've had enough. They said they're urging the boycott of Wheel of Fortune across the country over a new category on Wheel of Fortune.
What is it?
And the new category was What the Fun.
Okay.
Right, because they says it intimates what the fuck. And they want people to boycott Wheel of Fortune till they get rid of the category What the Fun because of what it intimates.
Well, give me a break.
Hey, this is they're
I think that's
raising the objection to the pun.
okay.
Yeah, that's a
What
bit.
the
See, that's
fun?
what the fun.
What the fun? I like it. I like it.
Wheel of Fortune said, "F around and find out." And we'll see. And we'll see what happens.
No, I'm just
Fun
curious when
around
that
and find out. And we'll see what happens when we do on Wheel of Fortune.
fun around and find
What the
out.
fun? That's right. Wheel of Fortune is like, all right, fun around and find out. You will see what happens. I mean, come on.
That's a good one.
I was like, what? You
That's
don't
a
have
good
anything else. You have nothing else to do if you watch Wheel of Fortune. You call your girl up and be like,
Give me a break.
Marge, did you see that latest Wheel of Fortune? Let's get them all together. Let's get all the conservatives together. We're going to
I
boycott
mean,
Wheel
come
of Fortune
on.
for what the fun. I can't let my kids watch this.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
I mean, like you said, they have nothing else better to do, and that's why
Yeah, I would be looking
that's
at if you did
crazy.
that, I'd be looking at you like, yeah, you're on your own island on that one. Don't mention our last name when you sign the petition, by the way, please.
Well, I'm sure wouldn't be the only Jones, but go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Yeah. So how about that? How about the dude? So this is disturbing for many different reasons. There's
What
obvious
is it?
reasons why it's disturbing, and then there's like subplots of it that are disturbing. When the Mexican president, who was a
Mhm.
female, is out speaking to constituents out in
Mhm.
public, and she is literally caressed and groped like her man is behind her, and they are at the club or they are in their private homes doing something, and they shoo him away quickly. It looks like in the video he may be a little intoxicated. But one, how did he get that close to her?
Mhm.
I mean, he's rubbing on her breast, he's
No, he
caressing
was.
her, and I'm like, yeah,
And she
could you
handled it
imagine?
so well.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, her
She did.
security team didn't because he was still there. Like, it's like, could you
Yes.
imagine
Yeah.
if somebody tried to do that to the president, let alone, how about the first lady?
Well, how about just to me?
Yeah, that too. That would be a
I
problem.
mean,
But I'm talking about,
yes.
no, but I'm talking about your, you're the head of state
Yeah, that's
and
just crazy.
you let somebody get that close, which
That
means if
close
I'm
to
her,
her.
yeah,
Yeah. You're fired.
they couldn't stop an assassination attempt at all. If that's the
Yeah.
case, if they let somebody get that close out in public like that, and I mean, he's kissing her on the neck, he's groping her breasts. I'm like, he's feeling on her hips. I'm like,
He was way too close to her.
Well,
Way too close.
he was way too close and way too long. It's like, where's her security detail?
Yeah, yeah, no, that was just wild.
And all real, I don't have anything against Mexico, but you tend to have political leaders get assassinated and killed. I mean, so do we. Maybe not at the rate, but it does happen. But you would think that there would be more security detail around it. Did you just couldn't get that close and have that much time? Although it's probably about 5 seconds, but he did a lot in 5 seconds.
Well, he probably follows Trump and he just said, "Oh, it's okay to just
Oh,
grab her by the
oh,
pussy."
see. Oh,
So,
wow. Wow.
you know, I'm just saying. I mean, that's
Wow.
and that it what? Am I wrong? Am I
You're
wrong?
not wrong. He did say it.
Okay. He
He
said it.
did say that's what women
He
like. He
said it.
said that. But he was
Yes,
saying
yes.
it, remember, he was saying it as locker room talk. He didn't know he was going to be on the
Yeah.
record and being taped.
Yeah.
And obviously it didn't hurt him. So
Of course it didn't.
it
Because
didn't hurt him.
yeah, I don't even want to talk about Trump this time. I think we
Well,
already talked
we
about him.
have, and it's okay. I mean, he gives, like I said, social, he's the greatest content creator of all time. On
He's
purpose
the greatest
sometimes,
bullshitter.
and not at times. Hey,
Yeah,
that's true. He's just
yeah.
he unfortunately he's an interesting cat. A lot of it for interesting reasons that we don't often get a chance to talk about. But like I said, the biggest difference between him and everybody else, he just says what's on his mind. We know presidents didn't, and we just didn't know what was
Mhm.
happening.
Yeah.
Um, and they did a lot of it's just like the whole pardoning thing. Like everybody's talking about Trump probably going to pardon Sean Combs, which I don't know if he is or isn't, but he's got a good chance because he's pardoning people he don't even know and saying, "Hey, just because I thought so." But we can't forget that Uncle Joe did the same thing on the way out too, and pardoned his family members and
Yeah.
pardoned people so they wouldn't even get, even if they did get convicted, they would still be pardoned. So they all do it. It's just a matter of how they do it, and if they're brazen
I
enough to do it. But I
well,
mean,
the thing is
Obama had hundreds of pardons, I believe, too, if I'm not
okay.
mistaken. They all take that liberty, which they should. That's one of the cool things about being president.
Yeah, I mean, having the right to make that decision and just say, "Okay, yeah, you're a criminal and I just like you and I just want to pardon you because I chose you." Is
Obama
that
had 1,715 commutations, including 504 life sentences and 212 pardons.
okay?
And most people that were granted executive clemency by Obama were convicted of drugs or had received lengthy
Exactly.
and sometimes mandatory sentences at the height of the war of drugs. So he tried to like right or wrong, but you're always trying to.
Exactly.
But see, that's just a nice way. He was eloquent in how he did it. It's all about how
Yes.
you do it, right? He
Yeah.
did the same thing. Trump's doing the same thing. He's not doing it as eloquently. His basically answer would have been like, because, I thought they needed some time off to get back with their family. Or, hey, I thought, why not? They seem like to be a good person.
He's yeah, no. And whatever. He's different. It's so funny. Like I always say, like he thinks he is
But look, he did the same. He just gave Daryl Strawberry a part. And like, why? I don't know. But he probably thought, hey, I remember him playing back for the Mets. I'm from New York. And he
Oh, yeah,
gave
because he
him
was
a
a bet
tax
yeah.
evasion, tax evasion,
Oh, okay,
tax
tax,
evasion,
okay, okay.
tax
I
evasion.
remember just reading that, but okay. And how much hold up, I remember reading that.
He had to pay like 300 or something $1,000, I think, like that. But the one I didn't understand the Santos one, right? The
Yeah,
guy who, you know, I didn't
yeah.
understand that one at all. And I
Is
kind of
Santos the
don't.
one that wrote him and was like his life was just
Yeah, well,
I
of course,
can't
your life. That's the whole point of going to jail,
right, but I
right?
remember saying, like
He was it was for wire fraud and
yes.
the party program scheme and aggregated identity theft. And look, I
Mhm.
think that with Trump, he knows when the man comes after you, it's not fun. And he's won a couple times and he's lost some times. He's like, there's a red thread there, right? But
Mhm.
Trump, look, I'm looking at his list right now. It is not short at all. But hey, it is nothing. It's going to do nothing but get bigger. And look, the funny thing is, I'm scrolling through these names, and 99% of them you wouldn't even know who they were. You wouldn't know them if they were walking down the street. There's, but there. He's got ones for. He's got a lot for narcotics, arms, a whole bunch of different stuff. So he's doing the same thing. It's just, I think he's done with some higher profile ones.
Mhm.
And he likes to talk about it. The other presidents
Yeah.
didn't like to talk about it. That's why I say he's just a great content creator. If you're a comedian or if you're one of those satirists on the news, you're loving him. I mean, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, if he when he goes out of office, we're gonna lose so much content, right? Because what are we gonna
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
about?
yeah.
So he's his own
Yeah.
comedic industry in itself. And then he gets mad when people
What
talk
is the
about
show
him.
we
When you
watch on
know
CNN? We
you know
got
you want
news?
people talking about you.
What
Yeah,
we got
yep.
news? Is it on CNN?
So
I love
I'm
that
like,
show.
you know he likes it. He's up watching news. He's doing true. I still can't believe he tweets out on True Social. I still think it's somebody doing it for him. He may talk it, but I still think somebody's typing it for him because I don't believe he can type that
Maybe.
good or that fast on the daggone phone with that bruised hand.
Um, and I know that we're gonna be closing soon, but I need to know, we need to reach out to, your favorite show. We need to truly ask that production company,
What's my favorite show?
Abbott Elementary?
Oh, Abbott. Well,
What?
I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk about it. You know what? You can't win the
No,
Super Bowl every
Jamie.
year. You cannot win a
Mm.
Michelin star every year. You cannot win an Oscar every year. And this is their, hey, look, just like Mahomes, he can get to the Super Bowl. He couldn't win it every year. This is just one of those years where they get there and they
Yeah, no,
just
but it's just
couldn't
not
get it
good this year.
across. It's up
It's
and
not g
down. It's up
Because
and
you know
down.
what? The opening of the show this, Wednesday, I think it was this Wednesday, I was like, "Oh my god, that was good with the little white boy, how he said
Yeah,
the
yeah.
N or whatever."
Look,
It was
I,
really good. But, yeah, no. No, no, no,
To
no.
say, look.
And
See, here's the thing about R. Kelly, and I know you're going R. Kelly, but this is what R. Kelly is about. The reason why we love R. Kelly, regardless of his transgressions, is because he gave us what we wanted in music. When R. Kelly was
mm,
going to do a song, it was going to be an R. Kelly song. And that was the thing, like Michael Jackson, you didn't know what you were getting out of Mike. You know, half the album that Quincy was doing was like, okay, but then when Mike tried to produce you, like, I don't know about this. Prince,
right.
Stevie, you knew they were giving you what you wanted every single time. You didn't care if it was 1 year ago or 15 years ago. They were consistent in what you got, what you expected. They didn't go off the beaten path to try to get a newer
Mhm.
audience or try to or I don't know what they're trying to do because they had such a great
Yeah, I don't
chemistry
know what they're doing. I don't know what they're
and
doing.
writing.
Yeah.
It's almost like his success got to the writers where they're off doing other things and it's just not the same. And I love that show. I want to see that show succeed. That's my favorite
Yeah.
show. But
Yeah.
this year, I'm lost at like, mm, I hope, and I hope ABC doesn't feel the same way because I want them to go
Yeah.
to a
No,
fifth
so do
year, but
I. So do I.
it's it's
So do
almost
I.
it's almost unwatchable
Yeah. No, yeah, we didn't even
based
finish
on
the
what it
episode
was.
this
I
we
know
didn't even
that's
finish
two
the episode.
episodes that
Yeah,
we.
in a row.
It's kind of like like we watch Hell's Kitchen too. We have a whole list of trash TV, but we watch Hell's Kitchen. But you'd be like, oh, it's Hell's Kitchen. You know what you're going to get on Hell's Kitchen every single time you watch. It's like formulaic. And you know what's going
Yeah.
season 1 and season 25. Yeah, the challenges
Something.
may be different, but you want to see some people bend under pressure. You want to see them crack down under pressure. You want to see somebody rise to the top. You want to see Chef Ramsay curse some people out, get mad at some people, slam his hand in some
I'm
salmon.
sorry.
You want to
I'm
see that.
sorry. Yeah, I know, but you know what? I do love I love Hell's Kitchen. We have watched every episode, every season, love Hell's Kitchen, and I don't even care to cook. But what I do love is that show with the Michelin stars.
You gotta know the name of the show. You can't just
I
say
forget it.
the show. You forget, but how much do you really like it then?
I love it. I don't care to know
And
the name.
it's a
I
Gordon Ramsay show.
I know you said that. That is I mean, that show right there just brings me so much joy. Like, it's almost
Yeah,
like the final season.
it's called Knife Edge. Knife Edge, Chasing
It's
Michelin
almost like the
Stars.
final season. It's almost like the final season of Hell's Kitchen, and the winner comes through the door, and everybody's crying and happy for
Oh
her.
yeah, the final show.
That's
Yeah,
how.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But
Yeah, yeah, at the
they do
end.
it in 2 or 3. They do it in 2 or 3 episodes, and then they go on to the next city. Look,
Oh, it's such a good
hey,
show.
look. He's executive producer of the show. It's called Knife
Mhm.
Edge, Chasing Michelin Stars. It's on
So
Apple
good.
TV. We're not getting paid for this, but we're pumping it. And
Yeah,
it
love it,
is,
love it.
if you're into food, if you're a foodie, I don't know
Yes.
how you can't like this. If you're into just drama and just seeing like people like at their rawest and at their highest creativity,
Oh God, it's
it's a great
amazing.
show. But he puts, I mean, everything is good from the host
Yeah,
to the subjects that they're following, to
yeah.
some of the backstories, to how they're telling it. All I want to do is be the host, because I don't know how he stays as thin as he does, because he eats every daggone
He,
thing that's on
yeah.
there. But that's like, he's
But
got the ultimate job.
yeah,
He's
but
got
you
the
know how
ultimate
those
job.
Michelin star restaurants, they have the little bites for you. It's not like you're like you think a
Well, he's
Michelin
eating
star
every
restaurant.
time he goes there. He's eating, because he went to a couple restaurants that
They're
I've been
so
to in New
small.
York, and I'm like, the meals aren't small there. I mean, they keep on bringing out the food, but that's a good
Yeah,
show. That's a very good
that
show.
is a great show. Love that show.
That's a
Yeah.
very good show. So, what are your
And if you
parting
haven't
thoughts
watched it,
here?
watch it.
Yeah, if
My
you haven't
parting
watched it,
thoughts
watch it.
are parents, hug and kiss your babies. Tell them how much you love them. Pay attention to what they're doing, and teach them to communicate with you and not communicate with AI. Let's keep our babies close.
Let's
That's what I have
keep
to say. Our
our
babies close.
babies close.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Um,
my
I
closing thought.
I will leave us with, what will I say?
You're never lost for words.
How how how, and this is about my wife.
Okay.
How lucky I am to have something that makes saying goodbye so hard. That's what I will
Oh,
leave you
that's so
with.
sweet.
Only when she's being nice to me. Only when she's being
Yeah.
nice to me.
According to you, I'm never nice, so.
That is true. So I don't have to say that too many times. Anyway, this is Cockrider, the show. Happy you guys are with us through this journey. I'm Jamie Jones.
Holla, holla. Listen to me now.